All right, Brent Porcio at TopVelocity.net. I'm going to do a video today talking about energy flow and how energy moves through the body and how important that is to increasing velocity and also staying healthy. So basically, I've seen really cool animations out there where you see hitters or pitchers throwing and you can see like the effects of like what it would be if it was like electricity or heat moving through the body. That's really the way you need to perceive it. When you're on the mound and you're going to start your movement, you're trying to generate energy, and that's really what the ground does for us. So ground force is ultimately where we create our potential energy that comes into the system and then becomes what's called kinetic energy, and then that's what we're trying to get into the ball, which eventually becomes ball energy. So just think of it this way: when you start creating energy by pushing and creating force with the ground, you're accelerating and building that energy through your stride, and then when you hit front foot, that's another opportunity to create a lot more ground force, ground energy, and then start moving that up through the body. So when we talk about sequencing or timing, the hip to shoulder separation, when the hips go to the shoulders go, and how the arm pass syncs up, all that has to do with converting that energy and getting it to the ball. So it's like once you've created your drives, you've created the energy, right? You've created a bunch of potential energy, and now it's, can we push it up through the body to get to the ball? So when you think about pushing it up, think of a hose. So think of your bodies like a hose where water's running through it, and that water's the energy. So once we start, we turn on the faucet, once we get the water in and we get a good amount of water with a good amount of pressure, that's gonna be easy for me to get the ball to have a lot of energy. So that's why the ground force is very important. It's like putting the pressure into the hose. The more pressure I put in, it's easier it's going to be to get the water out of the hose. Same thing here. More energy, potentially more chance that we can get energy to the ball. Now here's the thing. Now it comes to when you move and convert that energy, you have to make sure you're doing a very good job that when the energy gets to a certain section, it's being transferred to the next section and the next section. And what happens, you see a lot of guys sometimes when it gets to a certain section, you start to lose that energy. For example, when you hit front foot strike and you see your knee gives out, that's a loss of energy. So that energy, as opposed to being pushed up the body, is drifting still forward in the leg, right? So it's being left in the leg. So that would be like the leg, if this is the hose, the leg's a hose, where the knee's drifting, that would be like there's a cut in the hose and all the water shooting out of it, right? So we want to prevent that. So the key things once we build the energy is front leg is probably the most important aspect of converting energy. If we can create a stability here, that really allows us to force that energy up that we created in the ground. And then once we force it up, we got to make sure that it drives through the hips, because that's going to then bring it up through the trunk, and then it's going to keep going, and then the trunk's going to bring it up through the arm. Okay, so we hit front foot. We don't want to just throw the ball at that point, because not a lot of energy is up. So we're going to allow all that momentum coming off the mound to keep pushing the hip through. That's going to pull the trunk around and pull more energy up the core, right? And then the arm's going to come through. So where we could lose energy at that point is, say, when we stabilize, the hips don't fully open. Now we've left some energy here that's not really coming up. So there's kind of like a hose here. We're losing energy over here in this leg. All right, now the arm starts going to searching or creating other energy, and it starts pulling, right? And so we're losing and we're overcompensating for energy, all right? Or say the hips come through really well, and then the trunk's coming through, but the arm's dragging behind the back, right? And then it's delaying, or it's ultimately, because of that, it's not ultimately keeping up and allowing all that energy to transfer. Now it's like I have a leak in the shoulder as well. So I'm going to go through to where we would do it perfectly, right? So we make sure we've got the energy created and we've got it all converting up perfectly to the ball. So out of leg lift, I'm going to load and position the back leg for drive, right? I have a lot of videos that talk about this. If you want to get more in depth, search the videos on the back leg drive. Then we're going to drive and accelerate, because that's going to take the momentum out of leg lift and accelerate it into front foot. Now we build all this energy. Then we're going to hit front foot and stabilize it and stop it and push it up. And this is where the energy really starts going up the body. out of the back leg and the stability of the front leg. The hips should open, shoulders remain closed. That energy now is coming up. It's also being accelerated, multiplied from the stretching of the back hip to back shoulder, right? So now we're accelerating the energy up. We just need to make sure when we land, the arm's cocked. So when we go into shoulder rotation, the arm can lay back, which will allow the trunk to go forward and that energy to keep pushing forward before the arm internally rotates and goes. And in that way, if you stabilize really well and you sequenced it all the way up and the front leg extends all the way through to release, every ounce of energy is being pushed into the ball. So like all that water flow pushed all the way up into the ball. So look at your delivery. Go back and film your delivery and see the parts. Did I generate maximum ground force with the potential of my back leg? Did I stabilize and generate maximum front leg force with the potential of my front leg? Did I push that up and sequence each segment to efficiently push all that energy up through my body, through the kinetic energy, into the arm? Or did I let my front leg drift? Was I late to rotate my hip? Was I overcompensating with my glove? Was I dragging my arm? Or was I pushing my arm ahead of that energy, leaving all that energy behind? Then you know you're not converting it well. And here's the thing, you'll see pitchers who really don't create a lot of ground force energy that well, but they're so smooth in transferring the energy that they might not create a lot, but they get every ounce of it into the ball. Then you'll have guys who create a lot of ground force energy, but they're herky-jerky and they don't convert it well into the ball and they're losing a lot of it. But they created so much, they still can get enough into the ball. So the ultimate machine, or the ultimate pitcher, would be the one that can maximize ground force and sequence it smoothly up into the ball, giving every ounce of energy into the ball. So I just want to do this video because I want you to start thinking in terms of energy flow. How are you creating energy in your delivery? And how is it flowing through your body? Is it flowing erratically? Is it leaking? Or what we'll call a break in the kinetic chain? Is there a kink in the line? Or are you not creating a lot of energy, transferring it really well, and then it's just a matter of getting more energy into the system? I think when you start thinking that way, you're gonna have a better understanding of really how all this works, and it kind of helps you also get out of that analysis paralysis, where you're sitting here trying to choreograph things, and you're really not thinking of the process of energy and moving energy, which is really, really where performance is and where elite performance is. Obviously, the ones that do that better are gonna be the more elite. So I hope that helps. If you need a better understanding, this is just way over your head, get into my course on, it's the 30 days to 100 miles per hour. Get into that course, TopVelocity.net/100 miles per hour. That might give you some basics. You can also search on YouTube. I got videos in the back leg drive, front leg drive, hip to shoulder separation. All those things might give you some better understandings or some better pieces of the puzzle to understand how this whole energy flow concept works. But I think this is really powerful of a perspective when it really becomes to becoming an elite high velocity pitcher.